Can you balance pool water by looking at it? And that is to say, can you balance pool water without any sort of interaction system whereby you test the water digitally or with any sort of drops or test strips or anything like that? Is it possible to test your water by eye? Know if your water is balanced just by looking at it? No. Maybe. If you're magical, maybe. Who knows? I have no idea what's possible. I don't know. You might be magical. But if you're a human, supposing, then no, you can't. The only way for you to accurately know what's going on in the water is by testing the pH, testing the total alkalinity, testing the sanitizer levels, testing the calcium hardness levels. These are important parts of maintaining a chemical relationship in a swimming pool. And failure to balance all of these parameters, any one of them being outside of the ideal range, can have a cascading effect where ultimately damage can happen to the pool. And by saying, well, I can tell by looking at it if the pool is balanced, the only thing that you can tell truly is perhaps the turbidity of the water. You could be able to tell if the water was getting a little cloudy just by looking at it. Granted, you could probably do that. But you can't test the pH by looking at it. You know, you can't tell how acidic the water is just by looking at it. For the most part, hydrochloric acid kind of just looks like water. So I think it's pretty obvious that you can't test pH. What you might be saying, you know, by saying I can test the water by looking at it, what you might be saying is I've been maintaining pools for so long, or been maintaining my pool for so long, that I kind of have developed this relationship with it where I know that about once every 10 days I need to make a chemical adjustment to the pH or something like that. It could be that you've developed that kind of relationship with your pool. And especially a lot of older pool owners, people who've been doing this a while, that's kind of the attitude they adopt. But the reality is that you could be missing something. And if a problem were to develop, the conventional method that you would start to notice these problems, you might not notice it. Let's say that your chemical manufacturer changed the recipe, and what you're putting in your pool now isn't what you thought it was, and it's having more of a reaction on the chlorine or the pH than it used to. Like, these things happen, and you might not know it. So maybe your pH just magically used to be at about 7.4 because that just worked for you and for your maintenance schedule. Maybe now it's not anymore. Maybe the alkalinity's dropped away, and maybe your pH is fluctuating far more than you realize, and you could be going down like a pH of 6, something like that. And you might not notice that by swimming in it. You might notice your skin's a little dry. If you're very sensitive to pH changes in water, then you could definitely end up with some dry skin or something like that. But you might not necessarily notice. But you know what we'll notice for sure is the inside of your heater. The inside of your heater is going to deteriorate at an advanced rate because it's sitting in an acidic environment 24/7. So that's the concern, is that if you're trying to monitor your water parameters by eye, you're missing out on a whole bunch of them that are super important and actually required to ensure that chemical balance to prevent damage from happening to a multitude of different components in your pool. It would be a good idea, just get a good water testing kit and periodically test it just to double check and make sure that you're not missing something.